Hello, everybody. This is MJ, the coding coach, and I am back. So I mentioned on this prior post that if I got at least 10 responses, that I would actually go through the answer and make an explanation of the answers. So let's read the question and let's go through the answers. Patient presents for a 3-week follow-up with their provider after a hospitalization for a stroke with no residual deficits. The provider also assesses diabetes and asthma on the visit. Correct coding is as follows. Now, which did you choose? Let's see, did you choose the correct answer? Or did you even try? So personally, I like to do process of elimination. And let's do that first. Let's go through the process of elimination to see which one is just ridiculous. And we can just look at this and know that it's the wrong answer. So, of course, we have coding guidelines, and coding guidelines keeps us in compliance and keeps us choosing the correct answer. So we know, and if you don't know, you can look on page G13 in your coding book, your ICD-10 diagnosis coding book, G13. Those are your guidelines. And the guideline for this specific question will be there. So we know from our coding guidelines that we see in this question here that the type of diabetes was not specified. It didn't tell us whether it was type 1 or type 2. So we automatically know to choose type 2 because our coding guideline says that if the documentation does not specify the type, we're going to choose type 2. And if you did not know that, look again on page G13 in your ICD-10 book if you have the AAPC version. So from looking at these options, I can tell that D, as in Delta, is the incorrect answer. It has E10.8. And we know that E10 is diabetes type 1. It's not type 2 that we're looking for. Now, if you're a coding expert and you've been coding for a while, especially ACC, then you'll also know that D is not the answer because I69.3, that kind of signifies or reflects that there is a residual deficit from the stroke. And we also would know that J43.9 is for emphysema. The question says asthma and mentions nothing about emphysema. So we know that D is the incorrect answer. So if I'm going to do process of elimination again, just without even using my book, then I would know that B as in boy is also the incorrect answer because Z68.23, that stands for the BMI. That's a BMI of 23. There's nothing in this question that answers or asks anything about a BMI. So I will automatically know that B as in boy is not the answer either. I will also know that B as in boy is not the answer either because J44.9 is COPD unspecified. This question asks nothing about COPD. COPD isn't even mentioned. So now the options are between A as in apple and C as in Charlie. Now let's eliminate the answers from those. So I would know A is not the answer for several reasons, and let's go through why A is not the answer. So it says that this patient is following up on their stroke and they have no residual deficits. I63.9 is cerebral infarction, which is another word for stroke, and this is for an active stroke. So we know that this patient is not actively having a stroke. They were previously hospitalized for the stroke and they're following up with their provider. So during this specific question, they're not actively having a stroke. So I know I63.9 should not be used. Also, it has E11.65. We know E11.65, if we look in our book, is for diabetes type 2 with hyperglycemia. It says nothing with high blood sugar, nothing about hyperglycemia in this question. So we know that's not it. Also, J40. J40 is for bronchitis. This question asks about asthma. Asthma only. It says nothing about bronchitis. So that eliminates A as the answer. So it only leaves us with C. C is the correct answer. Z86.73 is for personal history of TIA or personal history of stroke with no residual deficits. That's what the question says. That's what we're looking for. It also mentions diabetes. It says, it says nothing about diabetes with complications. So we know that this patient has diabetes with no complications. It doesn't mention any. And diabetes and asthma, there's not a combination code for that. Okay. So let's go to the next code, J45.909. If we look up that code, J45.909 is for asthma unspecified. So the C option has everything we're looking for. It has Z86.73, personal history of a stroke without any residual deficits. That means that you cannot tell this person has a stroke or had a stroke at all. E11.9, we're looking for diabetes type 2. There aren't any complications. So E11.9 is the answer we're looking for. And lastly, J45.909. That's for asthma, which is exactly what we're looking for. If you have any questions about how we got the correct answer, or if you got your answer wrong, you want to see how did you get it wrong, drop your comments or your questions below, and I'll answer your questions in a video to help you further understand risk adjustment coding.